This episode is rated M for mature audiences. The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of the PFC Entertainment Network or any of the affiliates that make this show possible.
This is the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.
Where's the beat? And that's when to go on.
Go ahead. Make my day.
And the masters of the universe.
Something that you enjoy, like TV Guide.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
I pity the fool.
And we welcome you to What the 80s here on the PFC Entertainment Network. Along with Jill Bain, I'm Jason Klaus. We certainly appreciate you tuning in here this week. And we're going to tackle a fun list here this week. Yep, we have a list this week, and it's going to be a fun one. And we're going to try to incorporate some additional audio. We'll get to that in just a moment. Jill, I don't know what kind of feedback you're getting about this show, but I have gotten 2 emails stemming from last week's show. And apparently the dynamic between you and I is starting to catch on and resonate to the point to where some friends of mine who have been longtime supporters in all my crazy endeavors, whether it be running a professional wrestling company or making t-shirts or now doing the podcast thing, like they have been paying attention to what I've been doing for the last, 5 years. And apparently, from their estimation, we have stumbled across something that's pretty damn entertaining. And I feel good about that. But my God, that's a lot of pressure. You know what I'm saying? How's things?
Not too shabby. Got a few things in the works for my other podcast, Creepy Soup.
Mm-hmm.
One would be actually getting to record. My poor daughter. Her schedule is so crazy. So crazy. And then with my schedule trying to mesh up where I'm not sleeping and she's not sleeping. Yeah, that's been fun.
Mm-hmm. The joys of being on second shift, right?
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
She's on like every shift. Right now she's working, she's an hour into a 12-hour shift. And then she gets out at 6 a.m. and has to be back at 2 for 8 hours.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's a lot, you know, and it makes you wonder, and we're not going to go on a tremendous sidebar like we did last week, but it just makes me wonder, people that call the shots, that do the scheduling and stuff, man, you've got to take into consideration, we're humans.
Yeah.
We're not fucking robots. What are we doing right now? Yeah, that kind of shit drives me absolutely batty. I don't mind telling you. And bless her heart, I can only imagine.
Yeah. Now, I will say at one point, her current boss was my lead staff at another location, and I kind of had the same schedule.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So I feel her pain in a lot of ways.
I can understand. Before I came here or came to our shoot job where we're at now, I was a maintenance supervisor, so I was on call, you know, all hours of the night, and especially in the wintertime, if there's no heat, you got to get up in all hours of the night and go fix it, then turn around and hopefully it was an easy fix, but a lot of times it wasn't, or broken pipes when it gets stupid cold. Then you're up all night, and then you're expected to work your regular shift.
Yep.
Just wreaks havoc on your whole body, your central nervous system, and everything that follows suit. So I can understand that.
Yeah.
Bless
I
her
feel bad.
heart.
Yeah, I feel bad for her. And
Yeah.
then I'm always like, "Can we record? When can we record? Do you got your notes?" Like I feel bad, but at the same time, like, got to get it done.
Right. Yep.
But
Time's a ticking. Time's a ticking. Hey,
yep.
thought about you the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Meyer here in lovely Lapeer and walked down the soft drink aisle. Now you are a big fan of the Dr. Pepper.
I am.
I
I
saw a
miss
new
it.
flavor.
The blackberry one.
The blackberry. Yeah. Have you tried this?
No, I have, for the most part, cut out pop.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm doing the sparkling waters.
Okay. How's that treat you? What brand is that, if you don't mind my asking?
This is the Clear American from Walmart.
Walmart, yeah. Okay. No, I get it. Like that stuff's pretty good. If
Yeah.
you need an alternative to soda,
Yeah.
that's as good as it's going to get, and
Yeah.
and I can appreciate that for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw that. I'm like, I wonder if Jill's tried that because
Yeah. I may crack and get some just to try it.
You have to.
And one of the cakes that I make is a chocolate cherry Dr. Pepper cake.
Mm.
So every time a new flavor comes out, I try to figure out what kind of cake I can make with it.
Now it's funny you say that because somebody had posted a graphic of soda cakes. It was
Mhm.
cake mix plus a can of this soda, and I
Yep.
saw like a vanilla cake with a can of Sunkist, orange
Mhm.
Sunkist. I'm like, oh, that might not be too bad. And then somebody had put in there like a cherry cola to go with the cherry chip, and I had thought about that. I'm like, I might have to try that. I have
Yeah.
to watch my sugar intake. Like I'm borderline diabetic, so I got to really, be aware of how much sugar I'm taking in,
Yeah.
and so I go for the zero sugar, varieties of sodas and things of that nature. Um, but even then, people are saying I use the zero sugar and it's just as good and blah blah
Mhm.
blah. So I'm going to have to experiment a little bit. I actually made my girl a dinner last night, as a matter of fact, and it was the first time I made meatloaf. And I know, and anybody that's listening, they'll be like, "Oh, that's the simplest thing in the world." Look, my mom used to make me meatloaf for my birthday every year, and it was the bomb. But she was one of these. I don't know if you're like this. She never followed a recipe.
No.
It was a sprinkle of this and a dash of that, and and it wound up being absolute perfection. And I wish I had paid closer attention to what she was doing.
Mhm.
Um, and because of that, I never attempted it because I didn't want to disappoint myself. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I was talking to Sam about it, and I'm like, I'm kind of leaning towards trying this, and she's like, "Well, just try it. If the worst case is you figure out what doesn't taste right, and I'll help you figure it out." Blah blah blah. I'm here to tell you, it was pretty damn close to
Yeah.
the point to where I took my first bite and like I got all emotional about it.
Aw.
I'm telling you, but I was like, damn. Even my father, I had my father try some, and he's like, yeah, this is pretty close to your mom's. And, she would be real proud of you. And I'm like, damn. That's what I was going for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my husband a couple weeks ago was on a meatloaf kick, and I had made one on Sunday, and then he eats it for a couple of days, and then he was like, I wish I had more meatloaf. And I'm like, I guess I could make one. It doesn't take that long to throw together as long as you're willing to watch it once it's in the oven.
Right.
And he hands me the meat and the pan. He knew I would have done it. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, sure. So before we get to the topic this week, this Friday, no, this is not a fatal four-way plug. Even though we are going to be live on the air at 6 o'clock on ONTV, it is Valentine's Day. Now, um, anybody who knows me knows I have real mixed feelings about Valentine's Day. I haven't celebrated Valentine's Day in quite some time because anybody who knows my story, that's the day my mom passed away.
Mm.
This year is different, because I'm with my girl now, and this is our first Valentine's Day together. So I'm kind of looking forward. I'm looking more forward to it. I mean, it's still going to be an internal mind fuck, trying to balance
Yeah.
that out. But you guys celebrate the Valentine's Day? You got plans for this Friday besides tuning into ONTV at 6 o'clock?
I mean, we might go out to dinner on Sunday, but I work second shift, so not doing anything. In fact, Friday is probably going to be emotional for me because it's my last day in the trim shop.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a bittersweet day, I think. And then he goes to get a break because we've got the grandkids here all the time. So he goes to his mother's, and he goes over there and has a little break and hangs out with his brother. And up until now, it's been they hang out and watch football, play darts, drink whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they're doing. Don't really give a shit. And that's usually my day to do some deep cleaning where he's not in my way.
There you go.
So, but we might go out Sunday.
Okay. That's really the way to do it, because
Yeah.
every place is going to be packed to the gills, and you have to get reservations and blah blah
Yep.
blah. Doing it on, and then that's the cool thing about it falling on Friday this year is you can conceivably stretch that out for the whole weekend. So I can appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, but other than that, we really don't. There's no gifts. I could care less if I get flowers. They just die.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really concern myself a whole lot with, what's he gonna get me, because I don't really give a shit.
So Sweetest Day is also not a thing that is prominent on your calendar every year.
You know what? It's funny. The first and only time we really saw, like, he really ever did anything for Sweetest Day was the year we got married. And he had got up early and went to Meyer to go cash his check and all that stuff. And he stopped in their little floral department and got me like a bouquet of flowers that actually looked like an ice cream sundae. It even had like the plastic spoon in it. Yeah, that's probably the only time. Because again,
Right.
that it doesn't. And it usually falls around Judy's birthday, so it was never a thing for us to celebrate that. It was always more, Judy's birthday.
Right.
So yeah, no.
Okay. Can appreciate that. Well, let's dive into the real reason why we're here, and it's not to talk about Valentine's Day, Sweetest Day, or anything like this. We're focusing on the 80s. And when you talk about the 1980s, as anybody that's listened to this show or the predecessor, which was Power Tripping through the 80s, there are iconic actors, athletes, movies, TV shows. And the one thing that is a connecting fiber to all of them, Jill, is the catchphrase.
Yeah.
Now, you sent me a list, and it's a good one. And so this week, with corresponding audio, we are going to tackle the top 10 catchphrases of the 1980s. Now, before we get into the actual list, when I say most iconic or iconic catchphrases, what's one or two that stand out to you?
Definitely I've fallen and I can't get up. Definitely. And then, like I mentioned before we started recording, you dick.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to be on our list here, but I do.
Probably not.
I didn't really scroll all the way through this to see how many were on here. We're like I said, we're going to tackle the top 10, but I just kind of peeked at 11 and 12, and I mean there was some iconic ones on there too. And I'm like, oh man, you could really make an argument that this is a top 10 selection, which just goes to show just how big the catchphrase was in the 1980s. And then I started sitting here thinking about it. Was the 80s the first real decade that focused on the catchphrase? I mean, I know in the 60s and the 70s there may be one or two that stand out, but nothing that became part of pop culture. And this became part of our vocabulary. We started to utilize these catchphrases in our day to day.
Oh yeah.
Some of us got in trouble for it, but that was part of it. Was the 80s the first decade that really started to capitalize on the art of forming a catchphrase that's not a commercial?
I mean, to my knowledge, probably.
Right. Yeah, because I'm sitting here in the 70s. I'm like, man, what stands out? Up your nose with a rubber hose, I think might be the only thing that comes to mind from Welcome Back, Kotter.
Kotter.
Yeah, such a great show. God damn, that was a great show. Underappreciated too, I don't mind telling you.
I agree. I mean, I don't really remember a whole lot about it, but like Horshack, who didn't love him?
Oh, fucking Horshack was, John Travolta was in there and everything, but Horshack is what people tuned in for. So.
Yeah, Freddie Boom Boom Washington.
Love you so much for that. That is so great. All right, now we're going to attempt to play some audio clips to correspond with these catchphrases. Thanks to our friends over at Ranker.com, they did the hard work for us.
Yes.
Now, I'm hoping that this is going to come through. This microphone that I have, like I could be on the other side of the room, and I feel like if I breathe too hard, you're still going to be able to pick it up. So I'm hoping you're going to be able to hear this. But coming in at number 10, we've talked about MTV in a number of episodes of Power Trippin' and then, here, and what a staple that channel became, that network had become. I mean, that's how we saw music videos. Mm-hmm. Well, part of what made MTV such the pop culture phenomenon that it did was the bumpers or the commercials that they would air in between the music videos or at the top of the hour. I Want My MTV became part of that culture, and we're going to try to play a clip here.
Because that wasn't just someone saying I want my MTV. It was different musicians and other celebrities saying I want my MTV.
And I think that's what legitimized MTV, because it wasn't just Boy George and Madonna. You got Hollywood royalty started doing voiceovers and things of this nature and filming their little snippets for these commercials. Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole rock and wrestling connection thing, Cyndi Lauper being the glue between the two of them. Nobody was hotter in 1984 than Cyndi Lauper. Maybe Madonna. But
maybe they were neck and neck, I think.
Yeah. But Cyndi Lauper was that glue that connected the World Wrestling Federation with MTV. and she became a manager for Wendy Richter. She was part of WrestleMania 1, and then she incorporated wrestlers into her music video.
Yep.
Captain Lou Albano, we've talked about him a lot on the other show. So let's play this clip here. This is the I Want My MTV commercial.
Turn it on, leave it on. America, see the music you want to see.
I want my MTV. All right.
I want my MTV.
I want my MTV.
24 hours a day on cable TV.
I want my MTV. Yeah, too much is never enough.
We heard David Bowie, we heard Boy George, we heard Billy Idol, we heard Cyndi Lauper. It's just these fucking ads on here knocked me back to the top of the list. So yeah, I Want My MTV. Could you hear that okay?
Yeah. It was a little low, but yeah, I could hear it.
Okay. Now, we talked about movies and catchphrases in movies. Now, this one, I was so happy that this one was on the list, because if I can be honest with you, now he doesn't listen to the show, so I can pretty much say whatever the hell I want to. But my dad, I was convinced when I was younger, he didn't like fun. Okay. And he was just so damn serious about everything. Well, he worked all the time. In 1985, we got the Goonies. Okay. Now, the Goonies is, our age demographic, we were the target, right?
Yeah.
It was a movie about kids on a treasure hunt.
Mhm.
And I was that demo. You were that demo. Our parents, maybe not so much, but I remember when we got the VHS and we rented this movie, and this one particular scene popped up. He laughed his ass off, and it was one of the first times I was like, "That's what you find funny." So we're going to play this clip. Some of you may already know what it is. And if you don't, well, you're about to be surprised. But it's also going to spark that, oh yeah, that's what it was.
Yep.
So here's a clip from the Goonies. Oh, that was real quick.
Yes.
Hey, you guys from Sloth. Man, when that scene popped up, and it was a very traumatic scene for us kids. The old bitch was going to send the kids off the boat. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But then we got that big run in from Sloth and Chunk, and that's what we got with the Superman shirt and then the whole 9 yards. Is there a more iconic scene in that movie in your opinion?
No.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, no.
Oh, I didn't realize this is the one that was next. I feel like I've talked to you about this before. Perhaps I didn't, but where were you at? Where are you at on superhero movies and TV shows, especially TV shows in the 70s and 80s?
Yeah, no.
Not so much Wonder Woman and the Bionic Man and all that shit, or the Bionic Woman.
I did like Bionic Woman, and it's funny. My mom had even bought me a Jamie Summers doll.
Oh,
she was a little bit bigger than a Barbie, but her fucking face came off, and it used to scare the absolute shit out of me. So I would take it off, scream, throw it, make my brother put the face back on, and then I'd play with it again.
That is so wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I forgot about that doll, but I do remember that there was a Bionic Woman doll.
Yep.
And it was a little bit taller than the Barbies. As soon as you said that, I'm like, I can visualize it.
Yeah.
Now, there were those shows that were geared towards girls. Bionic Woman, Wonder Woman. For us boys, we got The Greatest American Hero. We got the $6 Million Man, which was the Bionic Man part of that story with the Bionic Woman.
Mhm.
Then we got The Incredible Hulk. And decades before CGI,
Mhm.
we actually had a human who was the Incredible Hulk. His name was Lou Ferrigno. And, but the alter ego, the David Banner part, not Bruce Banner, David Banner, was played by Bill Bixby. And he had a very iconic catchphrase of this show. Video unavailable.
Oh, of course. Let me. I've got it up. Let me see if I can do it.
Okay. But you knew.
Nope. Same.
Yeah. Okay. It said, he would say, "You wouldn't like me when I'm angry." And if you heard him say that, you knew shit was about to get real, because his eyes would turn green, and then all of a sudden he would just, like, the way it was filmed was so brilliant, to the point to where we felt like the Incredible Hulk could be a real thing. Until you get into what we've got now with the CGI, the Avengers, and all that. And while I do appreciate it, it is sure as shit not Lou Ferrigno. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Please don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. I have utilized that catchphrase myself, but I don't turn green and I don't rip my clothes off. So there's that. Number 7. Number 7.
We've talked about this one before. I know that we have.
This, you talk about commercials, and some of the cheesiest commercials of the 1980s garnered some of the most iconic catchphrases. This one is no exception.
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon?
You mean the mustard?
Yes, would you have any?
Would I? Or do I?
Both, actually.
What?
What?
You know, I'm asking you.
But I was asking you.
Is this about the mustard again?
Yes. Would you have some?
Oh, since you're offering, yes, thank you, I would.
Oh. Grey Poupon, one of life's finer pleasures.
Jill, if I don't know how it was in your neck of the woods, but because of this dumbass commercial, all you needed, if you wanted to be considered well off or above average, all you had to do was talk your parents into buying a jar of Grey Poupon mustard. Mustard! Now, tell me, how many times over the course of your lifetime, of your childhood, did you have the Grey Poupon?
Probably once or twice. And it was recent because for a little over a year, I was doing the HelloFresh.
Yeah.
And sometimes that would be like one of the ingredients to make your sauce. And that was literally the only time I've ever had it. I think I tried it once when I was a kid, and I thought it was absolutely disgusting.
My parents never bought it. Never would.
My mom didn't either. And then she said,
can I tell you, I've never bought it. I've never had Grey Poupon.
No, like I said, the only time, like I think I was at someone's house and I tried it. I want to say it was my best friend's house growing up, and I didn't like it. And I went home and I told my mom, the commercial came on. I'm like, yeah, I tried that this weekend. I didn't like it. She was like, yeah, it's because you're poor.
Your palate isn't adjusted enough for such high-end mustard. Jesus Christ. But how brilliant was the marketing, in all seriousness? I mean, for real. All right, this next one, I'm just going to start with the actual clip, and then we'll go into it. This is number 6 on the countdown.
What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about?
What you talking about, Willis? Of course, that was made famous by Gary Coleman in the show Different Strokes. I know people that still say this to this day.
I still say it.
This is what, number one, this is what made Different Strokes, part of what made Different Strokes one of the biggest TV shows on television at that time, but made Gary Coleman a household name. He was America's sweetheart, darling. I mean, everybody loved this kid. He was smaller in stature, but he had so much charisma that he just burst through the TV screen. And the whole dynamic of the show was kind of controversial for a lot of reasons back in that day. A white man adopted African-American brothers. And back then, you didn't see a whole lot of that, but they incorporated that into the storyline of the show and the different challenges and things that the family had to deal with. Now, behind the scenes, after the show went off the air, is nothing short of a fucking tragedy.
Yeah.
But
oh God, yes.
On the surface during the show, man, like everybody was saying this catchphrase. It was, I remember T-shirts that had his face on it with that catchphrase. And like I said, here in 2025, there are still, 40 years after this show went off the air, people are still saying that.
Yep.
Just, it's, I feel like that's going to be a deep dive for a future episode. Now,
that would be a good one, I think.
There's so much meat on the bone here that we could dive into. So maybe we'll incorporate that into one of our first real deep dives, other than, aside from Poltergeist. But yeah, Different Strokes, man, like that was a game changer for a lot of reasons, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Now we're switching over to the big screen. Again, this is something that I still hear to this day. Maybe not so much in conversations like this, but I've seen clips of it that have been utilized on Family Guy, on The Simpsons, on other TV shows that will lean into this. Back in, I believe it was 1981, 82, we got the movie Scarface with Al Pacino. And one of the most iconic scenes in that movie, and there's plenty of them, garnered this iconic catchphrase.
You want to play what? Okay. Say hello to my little friend. You want to play what? Okay.
Say hello to my little friend.
Yep.
Now, people use that phrase in the way that it was intended in the movie. And then there's other people that use this phrase for something completely inappropriate, if I can be honest. At least in the wrestling locker room, that say hello to my little friend. No, motherfucker, what are we doing? Where you at on Scarface?
I've seen it. It's been a long, long time, but something about me is I like gangster mobster movies.
Right.
Love them.
As far as the gangster mobster movies, would this be in your top 5, top 10?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Top 5.
Now, switching back over to commercials. Now, you know me, and like I really try to limit my wrestling references because this is not a wrestling podcast. But when we're talking about the 1980s, wrestling was that's when it got big, real big.
Yeah.
Hogan, Piper, WrestleMania, like it all came to a head in 1985 and then moving onward. Now, this particular catchphrase that comes from a commercial, an advertising ad for a fast food restaurant chain. And you actually hear this. It's one of the first things you hear in the open of this show.
It certainly is a big bun. It's a very big bun. Big fluffy bun. It's a very big fluffy bun. Where's the beef?
Some hamburger places give you a lot less beef on a lot of bun.
Where's the beef?
At Wendy's, we serve a hamburger we modestly call a single. And Wendy's single has more beef than the Whopper or Big Mac. At Wendy's, you get more beef.
Clara Peller rocketed to stardom with those three words. Where's the beef? Mm-hmm. This little woman wound up showing up on everything, every sporting event, every awards show. Like, she was all over the place. At 80-something years old, she became part of pop culture.
Oh, yeah.
To the point to where she was actually the guest timekeeper for a battle royal at WrestleMania 2 that had both the WWF and players from the NFL. WrestleMania 2 was held in 3 different locations, and they simulcasted. She was in Chicago for this battle royal, and it boasted everybody from Jimbo Covert and Bill Francis to Big John Studd and Andre the Giant. So it was ironic that they brought her in and she uttered that phrase. That's what kicked off the Battle Royal. Now, she was at the Super Bowl. She was at the NBA Finals. They drugged this poor little woman all over the fucking world with that iconic phrase.
Midnight talk shows.
Yeah. Yep.
Morning talk shows. She was everywhere.
She's also credited with saving the Wendy's franchise because sales were not that great. McDonald's and Burger King were just kicking their ass.
Yeah.
And so with this campaign, she is credited by a lot of people for saving that franchise. Mm-hmm. You know, Clara Peller, I'll never forget her. She was just. Oh, all right. TV shows, iconic actors, makes the transition to pop culture phenomenon. And I have maintained, if you're going to make a Mount Rushmore of pop culture icons, this guy has got to be on it, or he's at least in consideration for it.
Let me hear you say I pity the fool. Come on, man. Do you know how many times I've been asked to say that? Well, no more. I'm through. I'm never going to say those stupid words again. I pity the fool.
Mr. T.
Mr. T.
Is there anybody else that encapsulated everything that was the 1980s more than Mr. T?
Mm-mm.
From the A-Team to the breakfast cereal to the Saturday morning cartoon. And yes, please forgive me, the motherfucker was in the main event of the first WrestleMania. Hulk Hogan's tag team partner in the main event of WrestleMania 1. Yeah. It got no bigger than Mr. T. And this catchphrase, this catchphrase is almost more credited with making him a star that he was than his appearance as Clubber Lang in Rocky 3, if I can be so honest. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Certainly Rocky is what put him on the national map. But once he got beyond the A-Team was the number one show for a hot minute, as far as your action adventure movies. But my God, this guy couldn't go anywhere without having to utter that phrase. Other people have borrowed it.
He probably doesn't say it anymore because I'm sure by now he is sick to death of saying, I pity the fool.
Yeah. But if he had a dime for every time it, I mean, he probably does, and that's why he's as rich as he is. You know, we don't
Right.
see a whole hell of a lot of them, nowadays. But every once in a while, he'll pop up on some cameo appearance or some commercial or something like that. It still looks pretty good for where he's at in his life.
Yeah.
Was the 1980s, in your opinion, the introduction of the infomercial?
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When you think of the infomercials of the 1980s, this one, even if it wasn't on this list, if you were just to walk up to me and talk to me about infomercials in the 80s, this one would be the one that pops up first in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, when I became deathly ill, I was able to summon an ambulance, my next door neighbor, my family, and my doctor without picking up a telephone. I used this remote control to contact LifeCall, my 24-hour emergency medical response service. Watch. You just press this button and speak into the air and...
I'm having chest pain. I'm calling paramedics and your family, Mr. Miller.
I've fallen, and I can't get up.
There it is. I've fallen and I can't get up. Jill, last week I slipped on ice and, busted my ass. I don't mind telling you. I uttered those words. Because I was embarrassed, so I had to, make light because, people saw it. So it's like, to this day, this is one of those catchphrases that has transcended decades at this point.
Yes.
When's the last time you uttered this?
I want to say it was probably about a year ago. I had the opportunity. We had extra people. I got to go home. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to bring, it was like maybe first week of December. I'm going to bring down my Christmas tree. Well, I just have like one of them little 4-foot deals. All the grandkids have made the decorations on it. We just put it away as is. And I'm carrying it down, not paying attention to how many stairs I have left. And I hit that bottom one and boom, right on my ass. And I looked at my husband and I said, I've fallen and I can't get up. I'm laughing. He's like, are you okay? Because he's overprotective.
Right.
And I'm just laughing hysterically because, one, embarrassment, and two, I said those lines.
Yeah. My kids say it. They have no idea where the fuck it came from. They just, they've heard me say it. They've heard their mom say it. They've heard other, their friends say it. It's like, man, that's when that the Grey Poupon one, like that's still, every once in a while you'll still hear that. I wish I could come up with a catchphrase that does transcend and that is something that's going to be carried on for decades after the fact.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
It would be. It certainly would be. I've just got to get more creative. I'm a pretty creative guy, and I cut promos all day long. So it's clearly we can pull something out of one of these that we can utilize and have it, I'll patent it and all that other shit, or trademark it, I guess I should say. Now, number one, movies, right? Yep. Movie lines, movie catchphrases. In the 1980s, these three words have been used, reused, and used again by that same dude that said it originally and everybody else under the sun. We've all said it at some point in his voice, in his accent. Let's take a listen.
I'll be back.
Very simple, very direct. I'll be back.
Yep.
To this day.
Once a week, at least I say it.
At least, right? Anytime you're going to the store and you're letting Roy know, hey, I'll be back. I say that. I say that to my girl. Babe, I'll be back. You know what I mean? Or yeah, at work, run into the pisser, I'll be back. Anytime you have to say I'll be back somewhere, you're even, if you're not saying it like him, you're at least thinking about it.
Yeah, if you're not saying it, you're wrong. So,
well, I mean, there's that too. Sure. Iconic. And that's what made the Terminator as popular as it did, as what made Arnold Schwarzenegger as popular as it did. 3 little words, man. 3 simple words in the English vocabulary. Let's take a look real quick at some of these other ones that, and we're not going to play the clips or anything, but just we're just going to take a look at these, like clap on, clap off, clap on, clap off the clapper. Hey, did you guys have a clapper?
No.
We didn't either.
No,
always
my mom
wanted
said
one.
if you're that lazy, you can't get up and turn a light off.
Yeah, you got other problems. But, here, and it's funny because we heard that back in the 80s, but here in the 2020s, we have all these technological advances that's supposed to make our life better. We can order pizza, we can order a show on TV, we can do a number of different things without removing ourselves from the couch or the chair or the office or wherever. Now, the clapper was kind of, in some ways, the predecessor to all that shit.
Yeah. And it's funny because every couple months, like after we get in bed, we get all the lights, everything turned off. My husband will say, we should get a clapper. I'm like, fucking A.
Other ones on here, gag me with a spoon. That was used to describe anything that was gross.
Yep.
Made famous by Moon Unit Zappa in Valley Girl. He gag me with a spoon. Can't get my voice that high. Fucking these ads. I'm here to tell you. Oh, by the power of Grayskull. Right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
You hear it in our open, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, that was from He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Oh, from Saturday Night Live. I feel like that's going to have to be another, especially now that they're celebrating their 50th season, which is insane to me.
Insane.
But Saturday Night Live has had a number of different popular catchphrases. I'm here to pump you up is on this list. Yeah. Hans and Franz, love that. And then finally, and knowing is half the battle, G.I. Joe. Now, I know of this, but I was not a fan of G.I. Joe. I didn't collect any of the toys. I didn't watch the cartoons, but it was so popular. It was so ingrained into pop culture, especially for our age demographic. You couldn't help but hear this and know exactly where it's from. To this day, Jill, I use this catchphrase. And I'm pissed at myself because of where it comes from. But on the other hand, it's like, damn, that was part of the charm of G.I. Joe, that, knowing is half the battle. And I try to utilize that when I'm talking to, like, my kids or my girlfriend's kids. Knowledge is power, and it really truly is. And I will reiterate that with this, with that catchphrase. Oh shit, there's more in here.
Yeah, there's more. I was waiting for. I know number 16. I don't, because it was not a show that I.
Oh, Alf. Alf had no shit in business being as popular as it was, if I can be honest. When we saw the lineup for the fall season of 86, and we saw the premise of this show, I'm like, I give it 4 weeks. Even as a kid, I thought that. 10 years old. I'm like, 4 weeks and this show's off the air. Nope. This show was fucking awesome. It had no reason to be, but it was. The cat-eating alien from Melmac. and his catchphrase, "Ha! I kill me." I utilize that more in the 80s. I really haven't said it since the 80s, but that's a big one there. That's a big one. Ah! Oh, RoboCop. Did you watch RoboCop when it first came out?
Mm-mm.
Wasn't in your wheelhouse?
No. We did have a parapro at our junior high, and that's what we called her, was RoboCop.
Okay.
We were assholes.
This was used in a fake commercial that was part of the RoboCop movie. I'll buy that for $1. Too many people say that, and it's usually people that annoy the fuck out of me. So I don't really have very good feelings about that one in particular, because when I hear it, even when I go back and watch RoboCop and I see that scene, I think of the assholes that say that. And I'm like, nah. I know, I'm goofy. I'm weird. All right. Now it just completely blacked out my screen. All right, stand by. A couple more here. Okay, Alf. Thunder, Thundercats. You watch Thundercats?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. What about Pee-wee's Playhouse?
No, but I have a funny story about the chair.
Well, I'm all ears.
I was at who is now my sister-in-law. I was at her house, and she had the chair puppet.
Okay.
And we had, God, I'm trying to think of how old I was, 16, 17, I don't know. And we had, how do I say this? Some devil's lettuce.
Yeah.
And we hid the rest of it in the hand part of this chair puppet. My mom comes into the room because her mom is showing my mom her room, because she was one of them spoiled kids that had everything. And my mom zooms in on that fucking chair. And she takes, and me and my sister-in-law are looking at each other going, oh shit, oh shit. And my mom grabs it and she's like, oh, this is cute. And her mom says, it's a puppet. So my mom puts her hand in there and we're like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. She didn't find it.
Really?
Yeah, but we shit ourselves.
I can imagine.
We still, God, let's see, that had to be a couple of years before I even met my husband. And we've been married almost 30 years, together for 33. So that was a long fucking time ago. And we still talk about that.
Listen, I can imagine how you were feeling internally, that anxiousness, that, oh my God, we are so fucked right now. It's just she's gonna pull her hand out and that shit's gonna be it. Yeah.
Yep, we were waiting.
you dodged the bullet on that one.
We sure did.
Holy macanoli. Yeah. Pardon me. Holy macanoli from Punky Brewster. Did you watch Punky Brewster?
No.
Okay. Well, I remember this one. Punky Brewster is one of those shows, like we watched it, we liked it, but it's not one of those where if I see it's on, I'm going to stop and watch a little bit of it. Like, I appreciated it for what it is, and I tried to do the whole reboot thing that they did a handful of years ago on Peacock.
Yeah.
It just didn't have that same charm.
Right.
I mean, you can't really expect it to when you consider what they're doing, but at the same time, Punky Brewster was a big deal for a minute, especially for girls. You know, they had the action figure, or the dolls, as it were, and It was the premise of the show was very cool. Much like we had talked about Gary Coleman earlier with Different Strokes. Salim Moon Fry, who played Punky Brewster, was all over the place.
Everywhere.
She was America's sweetheart.
Mm-hmm.
Little cute girl with pigtails and the rainbow colors and all that shit. And this was one of her catchphrases. So
Mm-hmm.
can appreciate that. Aside, I mean, I could sit here and be like, well, you missed all the wrestling ones, but we're not going to make mention of that. But is there any other catchphrases that did not make the list that you remember from the 80s?
I mean, any number of them from the Breakfast Club, to
Oh,
be
yeah.
honest with you.
Don't mess with the bull, young man. You'll get the horns.
Yes, there's that one. Show Dick some respect.
Does Barry Manilow know that you raided his wardrobe?
Roy won't even watch that movie with me because I know the entire dialogue. So he won't even watch it with me.
My brother and I were very much the same way, to the point to where when we went to parties, that scene where Bender is describing his home life and an interaction with his father, and he goes on this 90-second promo about what a piece of shit he was. My brother and I had that nailed down to where when we went to parties, people would have us reenact that. Stupid, worthless, no good, goddamn freeloading son of a bitch, retarded, know-it-all asshole jerk. You forgot ugly, lazy,
and disrespectful. Shut up, bitch. Go fix me a turkey pot pie.
What about you, Dad? Oh, that makes my heart so happy to know that other people know what that is,
Yes.
No shit. That's fun. What a great way. Let's just end the show now, because nobody we can't top that this week.
No, not at all.
Oh my God, that's fun. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
That's going to make me
Thank you.
happy. All right. We'll go ahead and put a bow on this week's episode, and we certainly appreciate everybody that's tuning in here. And don't forget, in addition to Friday being the Fatal 4-Way live on ONTV beginning at 6 p.m., Facebook.com/OrientONTV. We are also dropping the spring lineup.
Now, see, when you brought up the 14th and I did this, that's what I thought you were going to say.
I know. That's why I had to pivot. And I'm like, let's talk about Fatal 4-Way. Let's talk about Valentine's Day. No, it is, while those are important, it gets no bigger than if you go to pfcspring.printify.me, you will see the brand new spring lineup. Baseball jerseys, hats, yard flags, house flags, things to usher in the new season of springtime. And we're very much looking forward to it. Had a lot of fun making and designing the stuff that you're going to see on here. We will put links up on Friday. Just check out all of our socials. Check out PFC Entertainment Network Facebook page, the Creepy Soup Facebook page, and all things Creepy Soup that is a part of the spring lineup will be shared to the Creepy Soup store as well. So if you just want Creepy Soup jerseys, you don't have to go through the whole spring lineup. It will be on the Creepy Soup store as well. So, and of course, pfcnetwork.net, the official website of the Pure Creations Entertainment Network. Anything else before we get out of here this week, Jill?
Nope, that's about it.
Well, this was a good list.
Yeah, I'm excited for Friday, the lineup.
Yeah, check all that out. We certainly appreciate everybody tuning in. Until next week, go out, be awesome to yourselves and to each other, and we'll see you next time right here on What the 80s on the PFC Entertainment Network.